Good evening, it's Miss Weber here with Chapter 5. This is Weekend Retreat, a Slice of Mojo. After leaving the house in Whitley, I moved in with my parents at the pub for a while. I did a few reliefs for them so that they could have holidays each year, a month at a time. I still did a few gigs with Sammy Earthquake, and I was a free man with no ties. I was drinking, smoking blow, plus lots of sex. I had the snip at an early age, so I couldn't get any woman pregnant. I was a wild man. The band, Sammy Earthquake and the Volcanoes, had a gig one side of Banbury one Sunday night in a pub called the Lampit Arms in a small village called Tadmartin. We got there and set up, and the landlord and landlady, they were great people. The landlord, Ken, was an artist, and the landlady used to be a teacher. We started playing our first set when this beautiful woman kept looking at me while getting herself a drink from the bar. She caught my eye and asked if I wanted a drink too, and I said yes. So she brought a drink over to me while we were still playing. She said, "Come and join me when you have a break." So I did. Her name was Pat, and she lived up the road outside the village. She came from Scotland and moved down some years back with two friends called Eleanor and Dee, who I met later at Tadmartin Manor. Lots of people lived there. They were made into flats. At the end of the night, the landlord asked us if we could play down there every Sunday. We said yes because we had an awesome time there. Pat asked me to come back to the manor instead of driving all the way back to Coventry. We got back to the manor and we went round to Eleanor's flat. Pat asked Eleanor to stop with her ex-husband for the night in another flat so she could have her wicked way with me. I went out with Pat for a couple of months and she came on holiday with me to Tenerife. Then she moved down to Chipping Norton, so we didn't see much of each other, but we stayed friends. Then Eleanor became a great friend to me, plus she became my drinking partner. I would go down to the manor on a Friday night and go off drinking Friday and Saturday before playing on Sunday at the Lampit Arms. There were a lot of parties at the manor where we would all get stoned and drunk. That's when I met Dee, the Scottish lady. They were wicked times. I did have a lot of one-night stands with different women down at Tadmartin, plus a few barmaids at the pub. Well, I did stay at the Lampit Arms a few nights. Devastated and shocked. A few months went by, and I was working at my parents' pub at the Freemasons. I was drinking a lot and getting stoned and just having a good time. Lots of one-night stands. It was a crazy time for me. A few more months went past, and Pat phoned me up and asked me to come down and told me that Eleanor had died. I was shocked and devastated. Pat told me she died of a blood clot on the brain. I went down to the funeral. I was in bits. Eleanor was only 32. I just couldn't believe it. We had so many great times together. I always called her my drinking partner. I will never forget her. Such a lovely lady, so down to earth. Another blow came a couple of months later when Dee died. Dee was going out with this bloke and she contracted HIV from him and later died of AIDS. About 6 months earlier, I had a one-night stand with Dee, so I got myself down to the hospital to have a checkup. But thankfully, everything was clear. These three beautiful ladies came down from Scotland together. And now there is only Pat left. I will always remember them. They will always be in my heart and sadly missed. And that's chapter 5 of A Slice of Mojo. Stay tuned, folks.